Alright, so in this video I'm going to show you how to install a carrier plug into a Janus access fitting. This is a solid carrier plug. It has a brand new primary packing seal every time that you install a carrier plug. This one's PTFE or 25% glass, so it's a crushable compression seal. Below it are the 4 equalization channels that once that compression seal is relieved when you're retrieving the device, pressure will bypass the primary seal and enter through the equalization channels, assuming that they're not blocked up with debris. Below the equalization channels is a secondary O-ring that is just to help the pressure flow into those channels and not bypass and contaminate the threads. The threads, we're going to screw this in into the fitting about 14.5 pounds. That's me one, say, depends where the threads engage, but there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's 11 pounds in. And put an 1.1/8" ring spanner on there now. So it's 11. It's 12. That's 13. I can feel it starting to compress. 1.5. 14, and it's sealed. So that's a solid plug installed. It shows how important it is to count your turns on the way in. If you were using a retrieval tool, for sure, you want to know how far in you are or how far out you are. For a solid carrier plug, whether I like it or not, I would prefer if these pipe plugs weren't stainless steel. I think we're going to convert everything to plastic, because they should only ever be installed finger tight, about 3 turns in. And all that's doing is protecting the female thread inside the hex of the carrier plug, so that you always get a good connection with the retrieval tool. It serves no other purpose than that. But when people tighten these up too much or put PTFE tape on them, they can hold pressure. And there have been a number of incidents where people have put a wrench on a pipe plug to remove it, not knowing that there's pressure behind it, and it will blast out like a bullet. If it's finger tight, you can always feel the movement between threads before you start unscrewing it. So that's your verification that there's no pressure behind it. So we'll put that one in finger tight. If it was a hollow plug, you'd normally see a red plastic one. I think we do green plastic ones. But again, it just shows that on the solid plug, they're steel. I think in the past it's been done as maybe a backup. If you had a solid plug that was leaking, you can put a pipe plug in it and tighten it up. But it's dangerous, and really it shouldn't be the way it's done these days. So this is a Janus pressure retaining cover. What's the difference between a Janus fitting and a regular flare weld access fitting? Is that a Janus cover and a Janus service valve has a double seal connection to the access fitting. In this pressure retaining cover is identical to the inside of a service valve in terms of its sealing arrangement. So it's got the top O-ring seal that seals on the top surface of the access fitting, and then it's got a radial seal and packer. You might just be able to see it, but there's an O-ring and a white Teflon packer for the radial sealing arrangement. And so once the top seal is sealing on the top surface of the access fitting, the radial seal is sealing around the top of the threads here. So it's a double seal connection for a double block and bleed valve. It makes sense. Double block and bleed valves manufactured or designed by other companies, they only have a single seal connection to the access fitting. And I would argue, what is the point in having a double block and bleed valve if you only have a single O-ring seal that prevents the process from entering the environment? So A double seal connection makes a lot more sense when you're calling out for a double block and bleed valve. There's a third seal here. This O-ring, semi-permanently installed, sits at the bottom of the external access fitting Acme threads. This is going to provide an environmental seal so that once the pressure retaining cover is installed, the environment is not going to have an effect on those external threads and the sealing surfaces. It's going to protect your access fitting. It's going to last a lot longer in service. So we're going to thread this on. About 4 times on. And I'm going to engage that O-ring. Just taking it's a quarter, it says, C-ring, C-spanner. I'm just going to tighten up that cover. Ensure that the seals are fully engaged. The O-ring is just visible under the lip there. We've done plenty ingress tests and whatever on it, you know, perfectly seals and protects everything that's important about the external faces of the access fit. Once that's installed, the pressure gauge should be in good condition, showing 0 because we don't have a leak coming through, and our bleed plug just needs to be tightened up. Once that cover is on, you probably want to give it a 2-minute pressure build up, or what we generally do is at the end of a service visit, once we've tightened up the bleed plugs on, pressure retaining covers, just the last thing to do before you sign off your permit is to walk around each of the points, double check the pressure gauge, open up that vent, just see if there's any kind of release. Hopefully not, you can tighten it up again. If you do have some sort of release, you've got to think about the time for that pressure to build up. If it's taken, you know, more than 5 minutes to build up, bleed off, remove the cover, tighten the carrier plug, perhaps put a service valve and a retrieval tool back onto it, retrieve, change out the primary parker, reinstall, and take care of it that way. But yeah, that's how you install a solid carrier plug into a Janus access fitting, and those are the benefits of Janus.